Well, Stephen, there's a lot to be said, but we only have a little time. It's a very short time after joining the Brigade, Steve became known as Mudguard. We started calling Steve this after a couple of fire calls. We had a car accident on the Kerikeri, and the car was upside down beside a very large pothole full of water. The person was still in the vehicle, and Steve was the first one out of the appliance into the muddy pothole and asked to assess the patient while the rest of us were still looking at the puddle and think it was going to be wet and cold. Another car accident down in that road, and the vehicle was upside down. It was the LPG vehicle, and we had to get in the boot and turn the valve off. Steve volunteered, and under 2 high-pressure fog sprays, went and turned the valve off. He came out of that looking very wet and muddy as well. Henceforth, he became Mudguard, shiny on top and muddy underneath, and it stuck with him from there. Steve's an excellent member to have at any calls. He's calm, makes good assessments, and in the earlier days was generally the main person who was looking after patients with assistance from other members. Steve's first aid skills were excellent, and he could always be relied on. He's one of those members, if you see him doing something at a call, you knew you did not have to worry about it, just leave him to it. Steve and Steph lived and worked in central Kerikeri, so he was able to attend the vast majority of all calls for many, many years. He was always at fundraising events, which included tree felling, firewood splitting and house building, etc., as we all know. Over the years, we've had many calls to Bull's Gorge, which is on State Highway 10. Had several fatalities there. And when we got a call to Bull's Gorge, you never actually knew where you were going until you got there, because the cars ended up anywhere up and down the road. At the very top end of the gorge, it's a long way down to the river. Quite a few cars would end up down there. To get down there, you had to sort of crawl down and certainly crawl back up again and take the rescue equipment down, which was very heavy, particularly the Jaws of Life, which is in front of me now. The ambulance and Johns would come down and assist us, and we would eventually get the people up to the top. Steph was on St John's at that time, and she was a driver nurse. It was always good to see Steph at calls because she was very thorough and she was very compassionate. And it's a really good combination to have. There was a call on Christmas Day. There was an accident at Kerikeri Road and State Highway 10 at the intersection there, and it was a car versus a bike, and the person on the bike had a broken leg. Once the person was in the ambulance, Steph then gave Steve all the instructions on how to finish Christmas Day cooking, because it was on Christmas Day and he was then in charge of cooking. We never actually got to hear how the Christmas dinner went. At one of the calls, Steve came up to the fire station, pulled up outside and yelled out, "Wait!" Jumped out of the old Holden, got in the fire engine, in time to watch the Holden quietly roll down the road in front of his eyes. Must have something wrong with the handbrake, it's the only thing I can think of. Steve and Steph had a parrot for years and still has a parrot. Steve was doing a work job at Russell, and the ferry was just coming into the Russell side to the ramp, and Steve was walking back to his car with a parrot on his shoulder. The parrot got a fright, ended up in a tide. Steve ended up jumping off the ferry to rescue the parrot. And, it's just another day for Steve, just another day. Steve really enjoyed the fire camps that was had years ago. There were various scenarios set up, and brigades would go down, and the members would be mixed up into different different teams, so you weren't working with who you normally were working with. And then you'd go around the scenarios, and it would go for the weekend. And a lot of people got a lot of experience over one weekend at very different scenarios, which was a big help for lots of people. Steve went to Kaitaia, Monterey, and to Auckland for the camps. The fire service, I can't tell you when because my memory's not that good, but quite a long while ago now, was setting up a peer support group. And our then chief, Ralph Rogers, asked Steve if he was prepared to go on the group. So Steve said, yep, he would, and he joined. And the idea of the group was that they would go around, and if brigades had fatalities or very stressful calls, then they would go around, and usually everybody there would be sitting in a circle, and they would talk about the incident, what they were doing at the incident, and how they were feeling about the situation now. And lots and lots of the people there really appreciated the opportunity to talk without any pressure, and to people outside of their own brigade. And it worked very, very well for a long period of time. When they were Steve was doing that job, they went from Kaiwaka to the top. So it was quite a bit time consuming, but very rewarding as well. Because there was a lot of travelling, and it all takes time. One of the reasons Steve's taken a little while to get his 25-year medal is that Steve and Steph were away a lot. They spent several years working with the building of the Napa prison and then the Spring Hill prison at Mary. Steve was actually away for 8 years off and on in Antarctica. He applied for the job there with the Australian Arctic Division at their Mawson station, and he was accepted. Steve went to Tasmania and met the other people going down to Mawson station. They were from all walks of life. They trained for 2 months in all tasks required on the ice. The fire brigade training was a week's course taken by the Tasmanian Fire Service, covering all aspects of fire training, including passing breathing apparatus. Steve was the CFO at Mawson Base, as well as DCFO at Mawson Base at various times. They had 2 fire teams down there who were on call 1 week on, 1 week off, while carrying out their normal work duties. Fire is an extreme concern in the Antarctica because of the conditions. Fire hydrants in the summer are 2 metres out of the snow. In the winter, they're at ground level. To stop the water freezing in the pipes, pipework, all pipes were insulated and the water is pumped around continually. And if the pumps stopped for any reason, that was number 1 priority to get it going again before the problem got bigger. Steve was in charge of fire training at Mawson Station, which was done on a fortnightly basis. Some years Steve would stay for the summer season or winter season, and other years he stayed for a summer, a winter, and a summer, and was away about 16 months of the year at that time. Steve's job down there was building services supervisor. He was in charge of total infrastructure and all existing buildings, plus all plant and equipment. It included water reticulation in the buildings, sprinklers, and all firefighting equipment. Steve was also in charge of the fuel tanks and all the pipework from the fuel tanks throughout the complex. The diesel was a special blend for Antarctica because it had to be thinner due to the temperature. When the ship came to deliver the diesel, 1 million litres at a time, the ship could end up to 2 kilometres out from shore, pumping the diesel in. At those times, there was a fire brigade team there continually while it was pumping. One year they had a fire in the smoker's hut, which was the only place on the base that anybody could smoke. The hut was 2.5 by 3 metres, and it was often full of smokers and smoke. However, the smoke hut caught fire and the brigade had to put it out. There was minimal damage. This was the only fire that happened while Steve was there, but there were false alarms. So Steve's been around quite a bit, spent a lot of time away, and you look at the job he had in Antarctica, and there was an awful lot of responsibility there, I think. So Steve, as far as we're concerned, is an asset to the Brigade and to the community for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, for those comments. I'd like to call on Charlie Laguda, always a comment. A few comments to say about So, kia ora whanau, tēnā koutou. Hey, it's an honour, a privilege and an absolute pleasure to be back here amongst all of you. Really, it's 4 years since I moved south and I've missed you very much. It's great to be back here with you. So tonight, it's my pleasure to say a few words about Noel. I'm sure there's probably a few more people here that are probably more qualified than I am, but me and Noel spent a bit of time together. So here we go. First of all, Noel Green, 8th of June 1953. Bloody good vintage. Oh my God. Noel married to Debs for 36 years, one more year than being better. No, hey? Oh, there's a domestic. Hang on. Two sons, Peter and Brendan. And Brendan, now married to Helen, has given them 3 lovely grandchildren, or not Bruna, and they're named 1, 2 and 3. Marina, Evelise and Elijah. There you go. I thought 1, 2 and 3 was all. So, Noel started his fire service career in Paihia, probably under Henry, was it? Yeah, 5.5 years. And that's kind of where I also met when we moved out here 20 odd years ago and we started with Paihia Drive. I used to build the V8 bottles for Paihia. And that's, I think, kind of how we met, and through Shane Schreiber and that crew over there. He spent the last 20 years with the Kerikeri Brigade, and that's how we met. So for me, it's about 12 years next week that I started my fire service career. And when I joined, Noel was very welcoming. As a fellow immigrant, as you can imagine, neither of us belong here by birth, but we've been doing our best. And there's 3 areas really of the brigade that we've spent time together in. One, after a couple of years, Noel said to me, you can make yourself useful and come along with me and do some firewise presentations. And at that point, Noel was the firewise person for Kerikeri, and so I went along with Noel. And obviously, you will, we get into the festive season, you can see the resemblance, and the name Noel, so we call him Papa Noel, and he looks a lot like Father Christmas. So, very endearing with the kids and one thing or another, and his legacy still carries on to this day. I basically worked for Fens down in Southland doing the schools between Dunedin and Wanaka. And when people ask, I say, well, I was taught by Papa Noel, and they go, oh, is that Father Christmas? And I go, yeah. And they go, does he live in a real pub? I went, no, he lives in Kerikeri. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's an awesome legacy on your part, really, mate, because we've got about 47 schools down there, and I love doing it, and I think about you every time I go. The other thing, of course, was the keys. Now, that was also very good because invariably it kept us out of trouble, and we just rode around the district for a day or so and had a nice lunch stop somewhere and made sure that everybody's keys and padlocks were up to date. The other thing in particular that we seemed to do quite a bit of was on the tanker. Noel was usually driving and I was his buddy in the other seat. And 2 occasions in particular that come back to mind was the longest red light pole I've ever been onto, and that was at the Whiteborough Forest Day. No. Now, look, we did end up at Donaldson's Crossing. I'm not sure why, whether it was the navigator or the driver, but eventually we got to Whiteborough, and of course we got a right roll grumbling when we got back. We get lost, but you know, if you're going to send 2 immigrants to the West Coast, what do you expect? The closest call, actually, so it was the longest and the shortest call. The shortest call was the stadium fire, obviously the fire service, and we both tipped out for that one. It made a bit of a difference. I thought we did quite well, to be honest. And I don't think we got a grounding for that one. But at the end of the day, you know, those of you that know anything about the Kerikeri Brigade know that we affectionately call our chief Grumpy. He can be downright grumpy at times, and he's a hard taskmaster. And I'll tell you what, when I moved south, I was very thankful for a lot of that grumpiness because it put me in good stead. And he's very determined to make sure that the skills are right. And if they're not, look out. So, look, at the end of the day, you know, nobody wants to be in the firing line too often, and I found a quick way of getting out of that, and that's why I moved to Southland. Frank's case, he moved to the airport. How's that working out for you, Frank? In Noel's case, he probably thinks that this 25-year gold star is going to keep him out of trouble, but talk to Glenn Riley, see how that worked out for him. Look, you know, at the end of the day, when I think about Noel, I think of the epitome of what a volunteer firefighter is. He is a family man. He is dearly loved by his family, his sons and his grandchildren, and his wife, and also by the brigade members. You know, Noel would turn up at a drop of a hat every time that siren would turn up, go up, and always turn up with a willing smile and a willing heart. And that is what the volunteer firefighting force in this country is all about. And it is a very special organisation to be part of. My history is police, and now I work for St John's, so I've had 3 uniforms, and I'll tell you what, this organisation takes a lot of people. And it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to work alongside Noel and his family, and the Kerikeri Brigade, and the rest of you all here. It's been, to be honest, it's been really quite humbling to turn up here tonight and be in your presence. And so, all the very best, Noel. I wish you the very best. And one of the things that we could do is just have a bit of audience participation. So, all you firefighters, stand up, please. Come on, up again, on your feet. Let's see if we can start a new tradition here. We're going to call it Kerikeri Fire. Okay, so you're going to go on my timing, but we're going to go one with the hand, one with the elbow, and one with the foot 3 times, and then at the end of that we're going to shout, he's a good bugger. All right, should we give that a go? All right, take your time from the next. All right. Stand. He's a good bugger. Thank you, Charlie. Well, that's one word. It's the best I come to your freaking burger. I'm going to call up my wife, Christine, who's coming to visit some good practice. Hey, you pull upon 12 stitches and you break 10. They're going to take the team, I think, but I'm not sure.
Kia ora and good evening to you all. Just on behalf of the United Fire Brigade Association of New Zealand, I'd like to thank the Brigade for the invitation to be here tonight to present Gold Star to these learned gentlemen beside me. And we do bring with us an apology from our President, Jim Walker, who has another function on tonight. He can't be here, so it's our real privilege to be here. I have got a card from you both to take you down to the thing. Yeah, first of all, I've got a one out from Jim Walker, UFBA President. Dear Stephen, dear Noel, I would like to extend my congratulations on obtaining your Gold Star for 25 years service. Thank you for your commitment and dedication to your brigade and community. I'm also grateful for the support of that your family has given you over those past 25 years. I think it's a bit more than 25 years. Yeah. May any further service be happy and rewarding as your service to date. Yours sincerely, Jim Walker. And then I have, oh my God, Honourable Tracy Martin, who? I think she's gone now. Okay, yeah, but it's from the Minister of Internal Affairs to Stephen Noel. Congratulations on your 25 years Gold Star. This is a wonderful milestone to have reached, and I wanted to pass on my best wishes. Honourable Tracy Martin. So I believe when your Gold Star was due, she may have been in office then, so
Yep.
take that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'd also just like to, before moving forward, just congratulate the recipients earlier on who had FENS service honours. Actually, UFBA service honours, so yeah. UFBA service honours, and that equated to 298 years of service. So give them
amazing.